Hello, everyone. My name is Syed Husseini, and I'm a solution consultant here at Sage Intacct. And today we'll be covering the topic and seeing a demonstration of the contracts module. And the contracts module is something that we built to really be able to handle the changing and the rapidly evolving subscription software industry. And the contract record really is going to be able to handle and has handled for our customers scale and complexity with sophisticated revenue lifecycle management, forecasting, and metrics. And we'll be talking about how the contract record in itself is going to give you a living financial arrangement within Sage Intacct to really be able to handle all of your accounting needs. Being able to bill automatically, being able to automate the revenue recognition side of it, being able to have add-ons, co-terms, renewals, things that the subscription industry has sees very often in their agreements with their customers. It really is a step away from the traditional order entry based system that does not necessarily give you the capability to have a financial arrangement or a contract transaction within your ERP system to be able to handle changes that might happen through the stream or the service period of the contract. But with ASC 606 and all the new revenue recognition and different types of requirements that came up, you really need to have a living financial arrangement like this contract record to be able to handle all of the elements that you may be selling to the customer. Whether they're maintenance elements, so software subscription elements, or even professional services elements, you need to have that contract record really be able to handle that and be able to be modified on an ongoing basis to affect billing, ad hoc, or even revenue recognition. And so that's really what we're going to be covering today, is seeing how contracts are really going to automate that whole process for you and for your accounting department, and then give you a lot of visibility with the automated billing, revenue recognition, and even cash forecasting that comes out of the usage of the contract record. So here's an example of that contract record that I was talking about. That's going to be your one-stop shop subscription system of record to be able to see everything related to your contract with the customer reflected within Sage Intacct. And then having it all in one place gives you the capability to trace everything back to here. You know that you can come to this contract record and be able to really see everything related to the agreement with the customer. And with that comes a lot of automation and efficiencies and lack of having to do manual journal entries or manual accounting work that Intacct itself is going to take care of utilizing the contracts module. So right at the top here, what you can see immediately on this contract is you can see some overview metrics that Sage Intacct provides. What is the state in which this contract is in? Is it in progress? Is it in draft mode, or is it on hold? You can see that right here, that this contract is in progress. You can also see what's the total transaction value of the contract, in this case being 195,000. And then you can also see how much has been billed so far. And as we'll see, all of the billing is going to be really automated with Sage Intacct and billing templates that you have on the contract record. And because it's all being done here, you have the total view and a holistic view of what's been billed, and not only what's been billed, but also what has been received from a payment perspective so far, and therefore what is left to be outstanding and needs to be paid by the customer. So as soon as you pop into this contract record, you'll have an immediate overview of what this contract is about, some overview metrics. And if you didn't necessarily want to go into the detail, it would be really helpful to be able to get that visibility right when you enter the contract itself. Now, as we go through this contract, what you can see is that I have my customer added in here. And once I add that in, it'll default to the build to ship to that I have set up on that customer record, just to provide a little more efficiency. Intacct is really trying to provide, especially for the accounting department, where a lot of efficiencies, just fewer clicks wherever possible, to continue to provide efficiency in the overall workload of your accounting department. Now, in this case, I have my build to ship to information set up here, and I have my overall contract service period as well, being January 1st, 2020 down to December 31st, 2020. Now you can have, this is very flexible. You can have a 1-year contract. You can, as I have here, you can have a 3-year contract or a 6-month contract. There's unlimited flexibility in terms of how long this contract really is in terms of the service period that you have with that customer. And that'll be reflected back here. And we'll see how that's really going to default into the individual elements of this contract to continue to provide downstream automation from a billing and revenue recognition standpoint. And then I can also add in my billing terms, whether it's net 30, net 60, or even due upon receipt. And this will default to all the invoices that are, or the billing transactions that are coming out of this contract. It'll know that those invoices are going to be, in this case, net 30, or whatever billing terms you specify on the contract itself. And then you can also have a price list set up, and you have the ability to create as many different price lists as you want and assign them onto contracts so that you can essentially utilize one item ID or item SKU and only really have to create one for a specific type of item and be able to sell it at multiple different price points, maybe for different customer groups or for different regions. Utilizing these billing price lists, you'll be able to use or just have one ID, one item ID, and be able to sell it at multiple different price points in terms of how it's defaulting in that price once we add that element in. And then you also have the capability to add in, drag and drop any attachments onto this record. It might be the PDF arrangement that you have, the actual paper document, you can scan that in, or how, maybe if you have it as a PDF, you can take that, drag and drop, or attach it onto this contract record itself. So you really have a holistic view of everything that you need when you come into this record. And then you can even select a billing frequency that can default in this case being monthly. And there's a lot of flexibility there. It could be monthly, or it could even be quarterly if you wanted that to be. But we'll see that there's going to be a lot more flexibility when it comes to the billing that the contract can provide, because you can select different types of billing for each individual element or line item on this contract itself. Now you can even specify the dimensions at an overall contract level to get reporting out of this contract. And you have the location dimension, all the different dimensions that you may have will show up here on this contract to be tagged so that you can have more sliced and diced reporting for your contract at the top level or when you're looking at different reports. Now the contract itself is actually going to be a dimension as well. And it allows now you to utilize that contract dimension to leverage your dimensional reporting capabilities that you may already have within the system. So for example, if you have a P&L report, you can filter that P&L report for different dimensions. And now because the contract is a dimension itself, you can actually have a P&L report filtered for the contract dimension, or even just one specific contract, and have essentially a P&L just for one specific contract. And then you can also specify what is the base currency of this contract, and then what is the transactional currency. So you can have a multi-entity environment where you have multi-currencies. Maybe it might be an agreement with the customer out of the USA entity, but it might be that the transactional currency of that contract is actually in the Canadian dollar or in the GBP. You have the capability to select that and assign that here on the contract as well. Now, as I scroll down, you can see this is really the crux of the contract itself here. You can see I have a couple different elements showing up on this contract, whether it's professional services, a SaaS subscription, a line item, as well as an extension pack subscription line item as well. And we'll go through each one of these line items to really take a look at how this contract really is a living financial arrangement that's really going to automate, especially your billing and revenue recognition, which is something that's often very manual and labor intensive and painful for a lot of different accounting departments. Now, if I come into this SaaS subscription line item, you can see that the service period defaulted in of January through December. It's an annual subscription for $90,000. And now you can see that I have, if I expand the details on this line item, a billing section as well as a revenue section as well. And the key thing to note here is that billing and revenue recognition are completely decoupled within the contract record. So you can bill exactly how you want to, have the flexibility to bill monthly, quarterly, or upfront, however you want to, based off of the billing templates that are going to be assigned. And to be able to maybe pull in cash flow earlier, or just to bill to stay competitive in the market, you can do that, and then have revenue completely decoupled to be able to recognize revenue how you need to, maybe to be in compliance with GAAP or ASC 606. Now, under the billing section, you can see that I have the capability to assign a billing template. In this case, for the SaaS subscription, I have a monthly 1-year billing template. Now I can have quarterly billing, I can have annual billing upfront. There's a unlimited flexibility in terms of the different types of billing templates that you create to be able to have automation now, as we'll see in terms of creating a billing schedule. So if I come into this billing schedule here, what you can see is that, something that's often created manually and maintained manually for a lot of accounting departments and can take up a lot of their time in admin tasks. Intacct is going to completely eliminate that administrative, maybe possibly non-value adding task by completely creating the schedule that's going to bill out your contract line items individually automatically. So in this case, what you can see is that the contract line item here took the total transactional value of this SaaS subscription and the start and end date associated with the service period of this line item and applied it to that monthly billing template. And then it automatically created a billing schedule for you. Again, something that is often maintained in Excel or created manually in another area or different system. And Intacct is completely creating that for you for each individual line item to be able to bill and have unlimited flexibility to bill in different ways, but then have the automation at the same time. In this case, you can see it created that 12-month monthly billing by taking the 90,000 and dividing it up by the 12 months that the service period is for this line item. And then it schedules out billing dates for you as well, so that you can have a complete no-touch billing process, and it can go ahead and automatically bill whenever these scheduled billing dates are. It knows how much to bill. And then once it bills it out, it's going to check mark that it's been billed here right on the schedule, and then give you a link back to the invoice itself right here. So the invoice is completely traceable back to the billing schedule, which is traceable back to the contract line items and the contract itself. So really, again, another example of how you can come into this contract record and see everything in one place. And you have the flexibility, if you wanted, to be able to edit this billing schedule ad hoc as well. At times you might want to change the scheduled billing date. You can go ahead and change, maybe if you want to do this to January 15th, for example, or you can even change up the amounts. There's a lot of flexibility to be able to change the schedule up ad hoc. So it gives you the automation, but still the flexibility to change things when you need it. If I come back here now, we can see how that billing schedule was automatically created for you once that line item was added in, the service period was added in, and the billing template was assigned. And now, it took care of that billing schedule for you, it took care of the billing for you in a very automated fashion. But then it's also going to give you each individual line item the capability to recognize revenue in an automated fashion as well, as we can see here. Now, similar to how you can have a billing template, you can also have a revenue recognition template. Now, as you can see here, we have not only one, but two different books. Now, the reason for this is that, we created the 605 book as well as the 606 book so that you can ultimately have the flexibility to recognize each individual line item in two different ways. Now, of course, we support both the straight line way of recognizing things, or even the daily revenue recognition as well. And so now, similar to that billing schedule, this revenue recognition schedule is going to take the total transactional value, and then it's going to take the service period and apply it to, in this case for the 606 book, the daily template. And so now if I click on view schedule here for the 606 book, we can see that not only does it create your billing schedule in the billing section, but it also automatically creates the revenue recognition schedule for you as well. This is another task that, as an auditor myself, I used to audit revenue quite often, especially for software subscription companies. And this was often maintained in Excel, and generally resulted, whenever you have an Excel involved in a process, there's going to be possibly manual errors, manual input, and that could lead to a lot of efficiencies and a lot of errors when it comes to your financial reporting. And so Intacct completely eliminates the need to have that manual labor because the system is able to handle that for you. And so it created, again, taking the total transactional value and applying it to the template for the service period. It created a 12-month revenue recognition schedule. And in this case, it's daily revenue recognition. So it does an automatically calculated computation memo here for you of what that daily rate really is, because each individual month might have different number of days. So you can get very granular with how you have the revenue recognition while maintaining that flexibility. Now, once those revenue recognition entries are posted, as you can see, you have scheduled posting dates. They will be noted here as posted, check marking that box, and then giving you a link back to the JE or the journal entry here as well. So again, not only are the invoices being tied back to this contract, but the journal entries and the accounting impact is also being tied back to the contract as well, while completely automating the whole billing and revenue recognition process for you, saving a lot of time for your accounting department so that they could possibly utilize their time for maybe more value-added tasks rather than administrative tasks for the most part. Now, I also want to demonstrate the capabilities of this living financial arrangement that we have here in terms of it's not just a static a contract or sales transaction record. It allows you to have add-ons, downsells, contract modifications that are very common, especially in the subscription industry, to be able to be reflected, downstream in the contract service period as well. So in this case, what you can see is that the customer requested a midterm add-on as of July 1st. The contract originally was created January 1st and ending on December 31st, 2020. But you can see here that you can also have an add-on here with this extension pack where you have a midterm add-on July 1st and it is co-termed with the original contract down to 12/31/2020. And in this case, if we open up and expand this contract line item, we can see that we also have a midterm billing template. So if we go into the billing schedule, we can see that it created a billing schedule only from July and co-termed it down to the month of December for you. Again, giving you the flexibility to make sure that any contract modifications or additions or add-ons or downsells are reflected back into this contract itself. So you again have that holistic view, and then it still provides automation to be able to add in a midterm billing template here. And then even from the revenue recognition side, as you can see, it'll take that start and end date and apply it to the daily revenue recognition template again in the 606 book to create a daily revenue recognition or a revenue recognition through only the service period of this specific line item. So it's able to give you the automation while still giving you the flexibility of making changes as you need to be in compliance with ASC 606. And then again, the automation to really be able to help burden some of that administrative, help take off some of that burden of that administrative task from your accounting departments. Now, this contract record, of course, not only gives you a holistic view and the ability to calculate and automatically bill as well as recognize revenue as well, but then with ASC 606, what one of the new rules is that it really requires some companies to be able to not only recognize revenue alongside the service period of the contract, but also recognize any contract acquisition costs and amortize it over the contract service period as well. And so with Intacct, what we also created with this contract record is the expense amortization feature, where here in this case, you can actually have and create a contract acquisition cost and assign it and have it amortized to this contract as well. So let's say, this contract itself was something that a sales rep sold to a customer, and they may have commissions that they may need to be paid out, which can be reflected as, for example, in this case, contract acquisition cost. So in that case, I can go ahead and add in, commissions in this case, and go ahead and say, okay, maybe it was $5,000 commission, and add in the GL posting date. I can even tag that employee, in this case being Nick Tesla, who is the sales rep, so I can tag that for reporting purposes. And then now you also have, just like with the revenue recognition, you have expense amortization templates as well, whether it's straight line or daily or different types of templates that you can create. It gives you a lot of flexibility there. And then you can assign the start and end dates so that now once I go ahead and post this, the start and end date being relative to the contract service period that I have for this contract, January through December. And now it's just like the revenue recognition can automatically create for you, not just for the 605 book, but also for the 606 book, an amortization expense schedule as well. So that now not only is your billing being automated, but your revenue recognition and your expense amortization relating to ASC 606 are all being automated on this contract. And it really is a one-stop shop now to be able to look at a true net profit or a true holistic view of your contract itself with the customer. Now, if I scroll back up here, what you can also see is that I have a number of different tabs here. What the Intacct contract can also do is automate your renewals. You have the capability just like with revenue recognition templates and billing templates, you have the capability to have renewal templates assigned to your contract as well. So, I have a number of different templates here. Maybe I want to have this contract renewed 60 days before the expiration date with a 5% uplift. I can specify that right here on this renewals tab, and I can even specify the renewal length and period so that once this contract comes up for expiration, I can have it automatically renewed, so that I don't have to manually create it. And then now, because I have it that renewal template, and then now, because I have that renewal template assigned to this contract, I can now also go ahead and have the renewal history tied back, and all the contract renewals can be tied back to this original contract as well in a more automated and efficient fashion. And then under the journal balances tab is really that 6-bucket accounting that a lot of accounting departments maintain manually. In this case, for the 605 book, you can see that I have the capability to see what's sitting in my unbilled or billed or paid in the columns, as you can see here, in terms of some of the transactional value that I have on this contract. And then in the rows, I can see whether that transactional value has been deferred still, or if it's actually been recognized. So if I have 195,000 in this box, that's really saying that 195,000 has been unbilled so far and is still deferred revenue. But if there was any transactional value showing up here, for example, that would mean that it's been paid, but is still deferred revenue. And I have this reporting on each individual contract that's going to be automatically created for me, not only for the 605 book for overall contract level, but even for each individual line item within the 605 book, as well as for the 606 book at an overall level, and then for each individual line item within the 606 book as well. Now, this is something that could save a lot of time for accounting departments. It could save a lot of headache when it comes to manual input and manual errors, because Intacct is, again, really completely automating this whole process for you, and it's taking care of the accounting in the background as you go ahead and utilize this contract to bill or recognize revenue or recognize a contract acquisition cost or expense alongside this contract. And now, because you have everything on this contract record itself, you now also have the capability to see under this transaction history tab all the different entries or accounting entries and impacts that are taking place. Whether it's deferred revenue entries, whether it's actual recognition of revenue, you're going to be able to see all of that right here under this tab. And then you'll also be able to see all of the invoices or billing transactions that are going to be generated on this tab as well. And then you also have a compliance checklist. Now, these are some pre-built checklist items that you can go through that we have on this contract created for you, going through maybe identifying the contract or the performance obligations. And as you go ahead and review and sign off, as you can do here, you can add in any comments and really maintain full traceability and review and internal controls on this contract through the functionality that we provide on it. And you always have the capability to add in as many different compliance tasks as you'd like, so that they can be added onto contracts for you to sign off on or make notes on or comments on. And then now, you can see down here that you can even add any notes that you may have had during the review. And then you always have that collaborate feature showing up here to be able to, have any communication that you need to have with other users within Intacct, whether it's through review, whether it's for a dispute, you can see and add that in right here, and it can be tied back to this contract transaction record. Now, going back to the general tab, the contract record also provides some wizards to really be able to go through some of the things that may happen during a subscription life cycle. Some things that can happen is maybe there's a dispute that's there for a specific line item with the customer, and maybe you need to put on hold. So Intacct gives you the ability to hold your contract schedules as well, whether it's billing, whether it's revenue recognition, or even on the expense side. You have the ability, in this case, let's say the SaaS subscription was being disputed. I can select that and say that put it on hold as of the beginning of the contract due to a dispute. And I can go ahead and hold the billing and the revenue recognition until further notice or until that dispute has been resolved. So now let's say we put this on hold, and let's say as of March 1st, that dispute has been resolved and the customer agrees to be billed. And now we need to restart those billing and revenue recognition schedules. And again, we have another resume contract schedules wizard to be able to do that for you as well. And as soon as I click contract line item, contract line billing schedules and revenue recognition schedules, it shows up anything that's been put on hold. And I can put the resume date of March 1st and then say that this has been resolved, so I can have some auditability of what transpired here. And then you also have the capability now to be able to select a revenue adjustment template. So for those 2 months of revenues in January and February that were missed, now you have the ability to catch up, whether you want to catch it up one time, so everything would show up in March that was missed in January and February in terms of revenue recognition, or if you wanted to do a distributed catch up where it takes that value and distributes it across the rest of the service period term. And then you can also have that entire revenue recognition walk forwarded as well. In this case, I'm going to select a one-time catch-up. And once I resume this, we'll see how Intacct's contract will automatically go ahead and adjust the revenue recognition schedule on that subscription line item, so that now I can see, if I go into this revenue recognition schedule for 605, you'll see that there'll be a March 1st date where it's making up and catching up one time the first 2 months of revenue and the month of March's revenue as well. And then you also have the capability to terminate line items and be able to have the accounting impact generated from there as well. That may be necessary when you're terminating or canceling line items. Let's say maybe if a dispute hasn't been resolved. But the value again really is that the Intacct contract record really gives you again the capability to have everything downstream automated. It gives you the ability to scale when you have complexity like holds, like resuming contracts, like contract expense amortization or billing or revenue recognition complexities. It gives you the ability to handle it easily and with a lot of efficiency and automation, so that ultimately you can scale. And even if you have complexity within your business, with the sophisticated revenue lifecycle management and the forecasting that comes out of it. Now, all of the automation and efficiency and the ability to handle all of the complexity that this contract provides doesn't just stop here. What it also provides is the utilization of this contract provides a lot of visibility in terms of providing reports that allow you to have, for example, billing forecasts or revenue recognition forecasts. You can have visibility into what you're going to be recognizing coming up or what's going to be billed coming up as well. And those reports will be automatically created for you as well, based off of the billing schedules and the revenue recognition schedules that are taking place at the contract line item level. So if I go ahead and save this contract now and come into my favorites here, what you can see is that I have a number of different reports that I've favorited here. One of the reports that I like to use is my billing forecast that allows me to get a look into my billing that I may have coming up. So if I go into my billing forecast here, have some flexibility here in terms of filtering this report as well. I want to go ahead and look at the details of this billing forecast, and it's going to show me now a 12-month view of not only all my contracts, but because I'm looking at it in detail, each individual line item within that contract as well. And it's going to aggregate all those billing schedules for you from each individual line item and show you that in a 12-month forecast here. And then going forth after that, how much is set to be billed. And as you can see here, I have my different line items for my different contracts. And this is, again, something that's maintained manually in Excel, and Intacct, because of the contract, is able to automatically create that report for you too. And then you also have revenue forecasts, whether it's by contract or even by customer, if you wanted to see it. In this case, if I want to see my revenue forecast by contract, I can go ahead and view that in detail as well. And now, just like with the billing schedule, it's going to aggregate up all those revenue recognition schedules for each individual line item for your different contracts and be able to show you that now on this report. And so now I can see, this 12-month forecast for how my revenue is going to be recognized in the next 12 months, as well as going forward after that. And this is something I've definitely seen accounting departments maintain manually as an auditor, and often use those Excel revenue recognition forecasts to now book journal entries manually into their ERP system. And both of those tasks are manual and often result in errors, as I found as an auditor. And so Intacct really gives you automation, but then also prevents these errors from happening, and then ultimately provides a lot of efficiency and accurate reporting that you get visibility into at the end of the day as a result of utilizing that contract.